pisses me off. Like, okay, I spent several years being patriotic. Fuck the haters, and that's how it is, YouTube. Nah, stupid fucking lighter. Fuck you, stupid fucking lighter. Hey lighter, fuck you. Oh, you don't like being beat up. You don't like it. You don't like it. You don't fucking like it. Then maybe you shouldn't fucking go against the grain, stupid fuck. I'll beat you up, you piece of shit. God damn it! I broke my fucking cigarette. Fuck. Fucking social media doesn't give a shit. Fuck you. Fuck you fucking touching me, you piece of fucking shit, you. And fuck this. And of course my drink has to spill. I lose my fucking temper over these stupid fucking assholes. And no one's gonna feel sorry for me, because it's just like you did it to yourself, dude. You had a fucking drink combo, and you had to lose your fucking autistic temper. Spill it for yourself. Fucking bullshit. Get the fuck out of my way, stupid fucking hat. Stupid fucking piece of shit fucking hat. Fuck you, oh it's here. Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. You fucking piece of goddamn shit. Fuck you, you stupid fucking bottle. Stay on the fucking desk, stay on the fucking desk, you piece of shit. Fuck you, I told you how many times did I fucking tell you to stay on the fucking desk. Fucking stay on the desk, I told you 1,000 times. Fuck you, fuck you, you stupid fuck. You wanna fall off the desk to beat you, and no one asked you to beat you, you piece of shit. Fuck you. I don't care if I got a nasty fucking temper. Fuck you, stay the fuck in my hand, you piece of shit. I'll smoke you until you're dead. Fuck you, don't care if anyone cited me, I'm fucking miserable. I'm just making the best of every day. That's all you can do, YouTube. That's all I can do. Temper, fuck you. Stay the fuck in my hand, you piece of shit. I'll smoke you until you're dead. Fuck you. Don't care if anyone cited me, I'm fucking miserable. I'm just making the best of every day. That's all you can do, YouTube. That's all I can do.
Underground has the best video clips in town. TV Underground has the best video clips around. TV Underground has the best video clips in town. TV Underground has the best video clips around. TV Underground has the best video clips in town. TV Underground has the best video clips around. TV Underground has the best video clips in town. TV Underground has the best video clips around. TV Underground has the best video clips in town. TV Underground has the best video clips around.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Afternoon DP. Thanks for showing up. Please like the stream. This is a continuation of last night's stream because I got tired and I got hungry for tacos, so I went out and got tacos instead. That stream got taken down by YouTube because of the music that was playing at the Mexican restaurant. They were playing some Mexican music and it triggered some stuff. But I can use YouTube's editor and get it back up. But it's literally just like 20 minutes of me eating tacos at this place in the area that's open 24 hours. you know, it's good stuff. Oh my God, I blasted my stomach because I ate this habanero hot sauce, taco sauce that they have, and it kicked my ass. Like, it evacuated early this morning and woke me up. Hey, I'm sure, figure out like a local taqueria in your area and just go there. I like crunchy ones, but, you know, soft ones, I guess, have their place. Yeah. Yes, please like the stream. Give us a big fat like. Give it a big fat like. I submitted my ballot, Drake Drag saw, over a week ago, because they mail it to you here a week in advance. Yeah. So we've got some videos to watch. I'm glad Biden's only going to be president for a few more months here. Because he's saying some weird stuff. He's saying some weird stuff, and I'm ready. I'm just hoping he doesn't get replaced with the worst person. But he's not doing too well himself. Check this out.
So if you have if Trump has to say, let's say,
and yeah, it's a Fox News story, but what Biden said was really weird.
Trump holds on to Arizona and Georgia and North Carolina. Okay, he just needs one of the blue wall states. Just one, and Nevada.
He has a good shot in Nevada too.
But they said they have not broken. The wall has not broken since '88.
Well, this is
so
what,
if you get one, you get them all. You get none, you get none.
This is what I talked to someone who's very involved in this yesterday, and they said the biggest problem for Kamala is she has a math problem. In all early voting, she is falling short. Trump has to win one.
Okay, let's get to the Biden thing.
That is problematic.
Joe Biden was in Scranton,
his
hometown, and used some language.
I don't know why they edit their clips this way, where they put something else at the beginning and then they get to the point.
Which that was not helpful to the Kamala Harris campaign. And you got to wonder, what is he doing when he says stuff like this?
There's one more thing Trump and his Republican friends want to do. They want another giant tax cut for the wealthy. Now, I know some of you guys are tempted to think it's macho guys. I'll tell you what, man. When I was in Scranton, we used to have a little trouble going down the plot once in a while from Greenwich. But I'm serious. These are the kind of guys you like to smack in the ass.
Smack on the ass. Look at the face he made. Yeah, it's like he's cooming over it. Ooh, ooh, yeah. Ooh, I'd like to smack him on the ass. Ooh, right?
From Greenwich. But
it didn't look like, I think he was trying to look mad and sound like tough, but it sounded like he was horny.
I'm serious. These are the kind of guys you like to smack in the ass.
Smack on the ass.
Wow. He grits his teeth.
So he's
get off my lawn
with in front of a few dozen people, and he's there just to make sure that. I mean, it looks like it's busy work. So he's there to say that, and then he gets off kilter. Think about what he was saying. He's saying they want to give a tax cut to the wealthy, and then he segues into violence. Right. I want to beat this guy up. I want to smack him.
Didn't he want to take him behind the barn at one point last time?
Yeah, like a few years ago when he was saying
when he was healthier.
But didn't y'all see the report?
No, he wanted to take him behind the gym, not behind the barn.
From the staff.
You guys are getting dementia too.
Essentially, no one listens to him anymore. I mean, this is the president of the United States. This is a person that's responsible for our national security. I know we joke about it, but he's still the person that's in charge.
Scary.
And we got people saying, oh, yeah, we just don't listen to him. They're afraid to put him on the campaign trail because he does things like this. I mean, there's a real national security component of this, to Ainsley's point, that is quite scary.
Yeah, well, I mean, plus he's just
angry.
He's angry, but he's talking about fighting. Bless his heart. I mean, I don't want to picture him in a fight.
It wouldn't be a fair fight.
No, it wouldn't be.
Right. Yeah, and by the way, just quick note, Rashida Tlaib is not endorsing in Michigan. She's not endorsing Kamala Harris.
No.
So
She's telling her supporters to go ahead and vote on the non-political things on the ballot, different ballot initiatives, make sure.
Okay. Yeah. I like the face he made. I'm ready for him to be gone though. 4 years is enough. God, that face. Look at that. I'd like to smack him in the ass. Not on the ass either, in the ass. What does that mean? Let me get up in there and smack you in the ass. Ha ha ha.
You guys are tempted to think it's macho guy. I'll tell you what, man. When I was in Scranton, we used to have a little trouble going down the plot once in a while.
Oh, man. All right. So let's do oh, this is great. Tim Scott, he's getting interviewed, and he won't even admit that Trump might lose. So he won't answer a hypothetical question about what Trump will do if he loses and whether or not he'll whether or not Trump will concede.
We are 48 hours to Election Day, but the last 48 hours haven't exactly been on message for the Republican nominee. Here with me to talk about that and much more is a big Trump supporter, Republican Senator Tim Scott of South Carolina. Thank you so much for being here, sir. You have been out on the campaign trail. I know that you have been, good morning, talking to and campaigning for not only Donald Trump, but Republican candidates for Senate. You're trying to turn out black and low propensity voters, among others. The polls we've seen in the last 24 hours show evidence that late deciders are breaking for Kamala Harris. Do you think that Trump's rhetoric in these closing days is hurting him with those voters?
Well, I'll just tell you that the voters I sat down with in Detroit, Michigan on Tuesday, Ohio on Wednesday, and Philly on Thursday, African Americans, Hispanics, Jewish voters, all seem to have momentum behind Donald Trump. It's going to be a very, very good.
Well, of course, the ones you talk to are going to be behind Donald Trump. Yes. If you're at like a Trump rally, yes, you can find people of all races and walks of life at a Trump rally if there's like hundreds of people there. But yeah, you're going to find the thing that they're going to have in common is that they're there to support Trump, right?
Day for Donald Trump on Tuesday, and frankly, McCormick will win Pennsylvania without question. Bernie Moreno will win Ohio, and I'm really confident that Mike Rogers will win Michigan as well. And the reason why is that the voters are listening to our closing arguments on the border. They're listening to it on crime.
What about the border? Tell us about the border. What's your position?
They're really excited about school choice. We did a school choice event in Philly, Dana.
I never hear about what they actually want to do to the border. They just accuse Biden of having a wide open border, but they don't really say what they're going to change. They're going to close it. I mean, like, what does that mean? How's it going to be closed? Because you can't like enter the country without going through customs unless you want to like endure some very hostile conditions.
We had a very strong cross-section of the voters from Philadelphia showing up to talk about the really important issue of making sure that their kids have a better chance for success by giving the parents choice in education. So the issues that we are focusing on in these last 48 hours are the issues that the voters say are top of their mind.
I want to get to a little bit more of that in 1 second, but I do want to just quickly jump ahead to Election Day and what happens after Election Day, because one of Donald Trump's allies, Steve Bannon, who was released from prison this week, told the New York Times that Trump should simply declare victory on election night, regardless of the results. Here's what he said. He should stand up and say, hey, I've won this. And we have teams right now that are going to make sure that this thing is not going to be stolen. That was his advice to Trump 4 years ago. That's what Trump did 4 years ago. It led directly to January 6th.
This donation is made in homage to J Spoon. Long may he live and don't.
Yeah, wow.
Also, Ben is a popey head.
A popey head? Did you mean poopy head? Why am I a poopy head? I think you meant poopy head. Yeah, J Spoon dropping the huge one last night. A solid 200. Yes, it could already be a non-issue. It could already be a non-issue, but they want to run on the issue, so they're like, oh, we care about the border. We're going to do something about the border. But they had a chance to do what they wanted to do. Well, now we're going to close it. We thought we didn't need to do it. We thought we didn't need to do it, but Joe Biden messed it up so much.
Will you urge the former president not to prematurely declare victory again and allow the process to play out so the American people can trust the final legitimate outcome?
Dana, we're looking forward to a very good day on Tuesday night without any question. I'm excited to see that the battleground states that we've just talked about are all leaning towards Trump. So the good news is we will have a fair election and Donald Trump will be our next president.
We'll have a fair election and he'll win. If he doesn't win, it wasn't fair. Is basically what he's saying. It's so dumb. It's so transparent. How is this guy an elected official? He is still, right? Isn't he like a senator or congressman? Oh, Senator Tim Scott. Yeah, I see it now on the screen. Jesus Christ, I'm getting old. Yeah, Senator Tim Scott. This guy gets paid a lot of money, and he's very influential. Like one of the most influential people in the government. You know, there's only 100 senators. And he can come on here and act like he doesn't realize there's a chance Trump could lose and it'll still be fair. He has to pretend like if Trump doesn't win, it'll be a fair election and Trump will win. And then he doesn't say the other part that goes along with that. He has to say that because if he doesn't really believe it. He has to say it though, because if he doesn't, he's going to be on the Trump shit list, and you can't, if you're a Republican, you can't be on the Trump shit list, right?
I look at the facts that in Wisconsin, when I was in Wisconsin just recently, the voters are heading in our direction. And the good news is 2 out of 3 voters want to vote in person in Wisconsin, even though they have mail-in ballots. You just showed a stat a few minutes ago where 400,000 votes swing towards Republicans in Pennsylvania. You take the number of Democrats not voting and the number of Republicans who have registered, and that's before you add on top of that the 300,000 Jewish voters who find themselves being polarized away from the Democrat Party. This is going to be a very good election, and we, the people,
a good election.
I appreciate your optimism. That's your job on the eve of the election. But what I'm asking about is what if he doesn't win? And the fact of the matter is that Trump is already spreading false claims about cheating in Pennsylvania. He has repeatedly predicted a massive victory, even though polls show that the race is very close. He's setting the stage for his supporters not to believe the results if he loses. Do you want him to stop doing that?
I would never tell any candidate on the ballot to talk about what happens if they lose. obviously you're going to lean into the victory, especially
I
when the
appreciate that,
latest
Senator.
polls
Forgive me,
and
but-
battleground
Need a
states.
poopy head. Will you still love me tomorrow? Also, popcorn is sold out in Europe. We are all waiting on the great American soap opera final series episode.
Oh, this one? Yeah, this is crazy. Man, I should buy some popcorn. I don't microwave popcorn because I don't have a microwave, so I cook popcorn the old school way, like in a pan, like in a oiled pan. Melt some butter on top of that shit. Mwah! Chef's kiss.
Spreading
Says
false
that you're
rumors.
running forward. You're running ahead of your candidate.
Totally. But saying false
Dana,
things
you and I
about
disagree on this one.
fraud
Totally disagree on this
is
one.
not. You think it's okay to spread false rumors about fraud and undermine the integrity of the election, regardless of what happens?
Dana, the liberal media has done a better job of spreading misinformation
Oh, come on,
than any
Senator.
candidate I've seen so far. That's true. Listen, here's the fact. We're not seeing the coverage of 2 assassination attempts on CNN
We
against
did
Donald Trump.
wall-to-wall
We're not seeing the
coverage.
comment.
No. CNN in every 24-hour news network lives to cover an event like an attempted assassination where he wasn't the current president, but he was still a recent president and running and possibly the next president. So it was close. It was close to an actual like presidential assassination attempt. And these networks, that's how they make their money. Of course they want to cover that. There are these new claims that like the liberal media tried to bury that, which is insane.
It's about Kamala Harris talking about fascists, calling Donald Trump a fascist.
John Kelly
We
called
should
him a
focus on,
fascist.
giving
His former
the
chief
American
of
people
staff.
the opportunity, giving, and she repeated it, giving people the
Well, wouldn't
opportunity
you, if
to make their own
Kamala
decisions.
Harris's former
That's
chief
what we
of staff
Americans-
called her a fascist? I would guess that you would repeat it too. And Donald Trump has called him one as well.
The bottom line is this, Dana. Bottom line is this. We should focus on the issues that the American people are talking about. They're talking about the greatest invasion across our southern border. Black communities across this country, particularly in inner cities, are talking about the devastation of the presence of Venezuelan gangs leading to more crime. We're talking about a rise in the unemployment rate of African Americans. Of course, black men are now more open to the Republican Party and specifically Donald Trump because the numbers are in. Kamala Harris and Joe Biden, they've done a terrible job addressing the issues
Senator.
of black men. Therefore, looking at the Donald Trump years, we saw low unemployment and high enthusiasm.
I want to allow you to make your point, which I just did, but I can't let go of the fact
Yes,
that
ma'am.
you are saying it is the media spreading.
God, there's such a delay in when she says something and then he hears it. There's a huge delay.
Spreading claims. It is not true. It is Donald Trump who is saying things
It is
that are
true.
Donald Trump is saying things just about Pennsylvania. Just one example that local officials are saying is not true. We saw what happened on January 6th as a result of that and many other things. You were there at the Capitol. Are you saying right now, you want
I
to
was.
leave this conversation and say you are okay with his rhetoric?
Well, Dana, what I'm going to tell you is the truth. The Supreme Court and local courts in Pennsylvania have ruled in favor of the Trump campaign this election cycle.
But this has nothing
In
to do-
2020,
that has
the
nothing
Supreme
to do
Court
with
then
what
made,
he's
made
saying.
changes prospectively. You're asking the question about voter integrity, election integrity.
Right.
I'm giving you the answer. We've seen a strong shift in the right direction, and that's reasons for us to be optimistic that this election will be fair.
You could be optimistic and not be like completely in denial. I mean, it's so close. You can't say he's going to win for sure. I'm not sure who's going to win. I'm realistic about this shit. It's hard to tell at this point. Once the numbers start coming in 2 days, it'll be a little less uncertain. But there are a few people who are analysts that are smarter than me and more knowledgeable than me that can figure it out, like people who have it down to a science, like that one professor, what was it, like Lichtman or something like that, and he's predicted a lot of them correctly. But with the information that we can just look up it's hard to tell exactly what's going to happen. And I keep hearing about Iowa, but according to CNN, Iowa is still trending red, and it's like a deep red, not even like a light red. So damn.
I'm, of course, going to say my candidate's going to win because the polls reinforce that fact. And the evidence I'm seeing on the ground only highlights or magnifies the fact that Donald Trump is doing very well in the battleground states. We are not just optimistic. We are going to be motivated, which will allow us to mobilize our voters. This election will be decided by the turnout.
So if you believe, you just said that you believe that the election will be free and fair. So does that mean that...
Hey, if you guys want to help me get a little closer to the goal, please do me a favor and send me a couple bucks. Just trying to get, this last 80 some odd bucks so that, we can meet the goal. And I might do another stream tomorrow, or maybe I'll take a day off. But definitely Tuesday. There's going to be a lot of streaming going on Tuesday, because the stream's going to start early and, earlier than what we normally start here. And we're just going to keep going until all the polls are closed.
You are confident that if Donald Trump loses, I know you think he's going to win, but let's just play this out. If he loses, that he will concede.
I'm confident that he's going to win without any question. And yes, I do believe that we will have a fair election.
It's fair.
We will honor the results, and we will celebrate the 47th president being Donald Trump.
See? He can't. That's how he words it. Oh, it'll be a fair election, and it'll work right, and Donald Trump will win. Because that's how we know it's fair.
Okay, let me turn to something that I want to ask you about if he does, in fact, win, which is he's promising a major role for Robert F. Kennedy Jr. in his administration, saying he will let him, quote, go wild on medicine and vaccines. As you know, Kennedy is a big spreader of conspiracy theories about vaccines' safety and efficacy. He also declared yesterday that Trump will push to remove fluoride from public water. Should he have, as Donald Trump has said, a major role in determining America's public health policy?
Little bits of fluoride in water is not bad. It's actually good especially for the teeth of the overall population. It's just like a lot of things, fluoride in high doses is bad for you, but they don't put a ton of fluoride in it. There's like a trace amount of it.
Well, I think what we should do first is win, Dan, without any question. We're on the cusp of victory, so let's not talk about anything about who's going to serve in the administration until after we actually are declared the winner. There's no doubt that President Trump has surrounded himself with some really fine people. I think of John Ratcliffe, who served as a director of national intelligence, and the really good work that he did. I think what you'll see this time around are the kind of people who want to serve in his administration that reflected the success that we had in 2017 to 2020. So
It says 0.7 to 1.2 parts per million of fluoride in water.
very optimistic that after we win, we'll have a serious conversation about who serves in the cabinet, who serves in the administration, and we'll have strong patriots who love America, who loves Americans, and who want to serve in this cabinet.
You didn't name RFK Jr.
Well, I didn't. You're right, because I'm not going to name anybody that I don't have a personal relationship with, that I don't know how they're going to serve in the cabinet. But I do have strong confidence that this administration will choose highly competent, qualified individuals.
RFK is not qualified to do the thing Trump's going to put him in. That's another reason people should not be voting for him. You know, like we need him in charge of all the health related departments
to do the work that they will be assigned to.
I just want to ask one quick follow-up, and definitely did not expect to be asking you about fluoride in water 2 days before the election. But in 2018, you did introduce legislation.
No voters have, by the way, either.
Yeah. Well, in 2018, you introduced legislation to support fluoride efforts in underserved communities. Since RFK Jr. made this, he did this on social media yesterday, making this announcement that Donald Trump is going to give him support if he's in the White House, and that he will move to eliminate fluoride from water. Are you okay with that as one of the first things that happens in a second Trump term?
Yeah, she's hitting him hard.
Then I'm laughing because I can't believe that we're having a conversation about fluoride.
I mean, take it up with RFK Jr.
Seriously, I can't take it up with RFK Jr. I'm going to let you do that part because you're good at this part. I'm going to stay in my lane, which is talking about the issues that voters are. Seriously, Dana, we are 48 hours away from the most.
That is an issue now of this election, is RFK Jr. being in charge of that sort of stuff.
Most consequential election in American history, and voters in Michigan, in Ohio, in Wisconsin, in Pennsylvania, in Georgia, and North Carolina are all talking about crime and unemployment. They're talking about the border. They're talking about 70,000 Americans losing their lives to fentanyl. Mm-hmm. They're not talking about fluoride.
Interesting. I'm looking at the cities that don't, like the large U.S. cities that don't have fluoride in their water. One of them I've lived in Albuquerque, New Mexico. They don't put fluoride. I remember the water there tasting noticeably different from what I was used to. And then Portland, Oregon, which I've been to multiple times, but can't remember if the water tasted different or whatever.
What would you be most worried about right now?
Well, look, the watchword of the day is humility here. When you have polls that are this close, and I'm sitting next to one of the great pollsters, and I think she would tell you, when you have polls this close, you're not sure of anything. And it really matters who shows up because these polls are not precise. So what I'm worried about is it's like, I already know that Kamala's winning my state. It's a certainty. We're electing a new governor too. There's no way the Republican is winning. Like, it's not happening. And both of the senators here are Democrats, and my representative is running against another Democrat for the House seat in my district. So it's all just Democrats around here. There are Republican areas of Washington state, but it's not in the Seattle area. Counting on some women who are independent Republican women to come out and vote for Harris. Is that going to materialize? Is the gender gap going to be what you need it to be? Are minority voters going to come out in the numbers of African American voters in particular, and are you going to get the margins that you want there? So there are a lot of open questions, and they're obviously working it hard right now. There are feet on the street, and they're doing the kind of work that you do in a race like this. But this race is filled with...
During my road trip in the U.S., we traveled through a state where the water tasted like swimming pool chlorine water. Weirdest Coke taste ever.
Which state was it? Europeans like to road trip in America. It's interesting because it's like a lot of driving. I've moved across the country several times, and man, that's a long drive. I have been on some road trips, but they're usually not big ones. A lot of Europeans want to like do the RV trip across the country kind of stuff. I don't know.
With uncertainty today.
What is Donald Trump worried about?
The greatest of all American philosophers once said, It's tough to make predictions, especially about the future.
Thank you, by the way. We're at 91%, trying to close off the goal. We're really close, 91.33%.
So, Yogi
Berra.
So, I mean, that's the case here, right? To David's point, everything that David said is a concern for me, right? You just asked Senator Fetterman about the 300,000 Jewish voters in Pennsylvania. And if you've seen that RJC ad that's been run.
Toilet paper is Christian Louboutin or Louis Vuitton? And which is yours, Ben?
Toilet paper?
Can't remember the state. We did NY to LA.
Yes.
6,600 miles in total before the end. Smile.
Yes. Okay, so first, Drake, I don't use toilet paper. I use wet wipes. Toilet paper just pushes poop around and doesn't get it off your asshole. Thank you. Wow, look at this. So wet wipes are the way to go. I didn't know that there were designer brands of toilet paper. I do have toilet paper, a lot of times I use toilet paper for as tissues and to wipe things up sometimes. I don't normally like to wipe my butt with it. You know what I'm saying, bro? New York to LA is ridiculous. You go through so many states. A lot of the states are flyover states that are just empty, like Kansas and shit like that. I guess it depends on what route you took. But yeah, that's so far. You're spending most of the time on the road. My longest drive ever was from Columbus, Ohio to Seattle.
Running nonstop in Pennsylvania about every other commercial, right? Do those margins come out in the Commonwealth, right? I was on the ground at 16. I was on the ground at 20 in Pennsylvania. I've been on the ground this year. Feels a lot more like 16 than 20. In 16, we had a very high-profile, famous woman at the top of the ticket with a lot of celebrity endorsements. In 20, we had Pennsylvania's third senator, one of the favorite sons, Scranton Joe, campaigned a lot with Ed Rendell, lived in the Philly area, basically. So what does it look like? Does it look more like 16 or does it look like 20? And I think, that it looks a little bit more like 16, and we'll find out the dispositive places. I think Bucks County, 16, Trump narrowly lost. Biden expanded his lead there a little bit. There's more registration now, Republican registration there. And in Philadelphia County, Trump increased a little bit in 20. And so what do those Republican Jewish women do in the Philly suburbs? Did they prioritize abortion? Or is that RJC ad, do they prioritize anti-Zionism and anti-Semitism?
Let's widen the discussion. Pennsylvania obviously is probably the most important, but look at.
Yeah. Pennsylvania, as far as the polling goes, is trending red. Michigan, I look at Michigan as a blue state these days.
The New York Times polls this morning, which did a survey of all of the battlegrounds, and the headline is, once again, no clear leader. Kristen, you are.
Yeah. Nevada. Yeah. I mean, it's so close. Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, North Carolina. I do like the lead in North Carolina there, though. Georgia, 46-46.
Our pollster here. And then
you look at the entire West, like West Coast. Yeah, it's like the Northeast mostly,
At that, no clear leader.
All blue.
Then I want to look at Iowa, because it's not generally a hot topic 2 days before a general election to talk about the last Des Moines Register poll. That's usually what we do before the Iowa caucuses. But if you look at that, Iowa is a red state, and she has Kamala Harris, Ann Seltzer, the famous Ann Seltzer, has Kamala Harris up by a few points. Now, Republicans I've talked to in Iowa think that that is probably overstating her support, but they do see a trend there with late breakers for Kamala Harris on the female side, on the older side, that could be very real, not just there, but other places. What do you see?
So I've also, in my own data, seen senior women trending a little more Democratic. I don't think it is to the extent that was found in the Seltzer poll, but she's a great pollster. Even good pollsters sometimes have outliers, and that is why I think what David Axelrod said was so important about uncertainty. This election could be a reboot. That's sort of what the New York Times Siena polls are showing, that Harris has rebooted the Obama coalition. She's getting younger voters. She's getting voters of color to turn out for her in big numbers. But this also could be a real...
Yeah, the exit polling will tell us a lot more. Like, before the votes are completely counted, a lot of the exit polling... in the places where there actually are polls that people go to.
Alignment, and that's what the Trump team is hoping for, that they're actually doing better with younger voters, better with voters of color than expected. And so even if they're losing seniors by a little bit, especially senior women, they're making up that ground in other places. We don't yet know if this is a reboot or a realignment. And just because the polls are generally showing this race...
The ballot box fires aren't going to have any effect on the presidential election. As far as, or are you talking about in Arizona? I don't think so. There was like hardly any ballots in there. It was just a blue mailbox. But then in in the Portland area, Portland's right on the border of Oregon and Washington, and there was a fire of a specific ballot box, like a mailbox that was only for ballots. There was one in Washington and then one in Portland, and it's not going to affect the presidential election. Like, Harris is going to win Oregon. You could burn even more votes and she'd still win Washington and Oregon. It'll have no effect. In Arizona, where it's like closer, something like that could maybe affect it a little bit, but it was my understanding that there was hardly any ballots in. I mean, it was literally, there was more mail, just regular mail in there than a ballot. It wasn't even, in Arizona, it wasn't even, as far as we understand, the motivation had nothing to do with the election by the guy who burnt the mail.
It's close. I want to be clear. The uncertainty is not just we don't know who's going to win. It's also possible that one of these candidates could run away with this. The uncertainty is not just, well, we're sure it'll be close. We aren't sure of anything right now, and I know that's an unsatisfying thing to hear the week before the election.
It's so important. It is so important to underscore that, that it is so tight that really anything could happen, and we need to say that what we know is that we don't know much. But what are you hearing inside the Harris campaign?
Look, I actually sit around here with I brought my humility. I don't know if I brought it on set, but
you must have rented it, man.
It's in the back somewhere. But I feel really confident about where the Harris campaign is right now. I think if you look at the numbers in Georgia and North Carolina, particularly early voting over the last few days, you've seen those voters that she needs to come home in quickly. I mean, if you look at the Atlanta, those counties around Atlanta, DeKalb, Fulton, Gwinnett, Clayco, all of those counties, they're coming home. Where she needs to improve is Chatham County, which is Savannah, and Richmond County, which is Augusta. But Georgia, there's a roadmap for victory there. North Carolina, the same thing. Black and brown voters, young voters. We've seen young voters explode. Gen Z actually is going to be the determining demographic in this race. We've seen them over-index, 100+% turnout in places like North Carolina, Georgia. Those voters are actually going to have a stamp on what happens in this election. And so you look at North Carolina, you look at Georgia, but then you go to Pennsylvania. And we talked about the 300,000 Jewish voters, but we also have to see something that happened, and I'm interested to see what the polls are saying. 500,000 Puerto Rican voters in Pennsylvania that that Donald Trump just kind of castigated and set aside. And the campaign had a very difficult time figuring out how to find their footing. But we're not just seeing Puerto Rican voters. We're actually seeing Hispanic voters come back to the Democratic side in droves. And so I feel really confident about where she is. Is this going to be a close race? I'm not sure, but
I guess we'll see.
I'd rather be Kamala Harris than Donald Trump today.
Let's see.
So we have 3 days left in one of the most consequential elections of our lifetime, and we still have work to do.
This is a very important state, and we have to get this solved. We have to get you out, and we can't take a chance of losing the great state of North Carolina. We're not going to lose the great state of North Carolina.
So here we go now, 2 days and counting.
So now we'll listen to Fox News analyze the
Remember
voting
we were starting
map.
this thing like 60 days ago? Home stretch right there. State of the race. Come on over here, Jimmy. This is what our forecasts
Cavuto.
have been looking like, and this really goes back more than a month.
I'm covering up
All right,
Cavuto.
We think everything in gold and or yellow is a toss-up, right? But about a week ago, we had Arizona lean Republican, so we gave it that little rosé red color there. I don't know what's going on in Iowa, Dana, right? I mean, we've got it likely Republican. You know, Trump won at 9 points in 2016, won at 8 points in 2020, so we'll see how that goes. Here's another thing to look at, all right? You know, this is New York Times from overnight, okay? These are all the swing
No one
states.
trusts the
Everything's
New
super
York
close
Times.
as best as we can tell. Look, someone's going to be right, someone is going to be wrong. That's just what it comes down to. They've got Trump ahead in Arizona. They've got her up a point in Georgia. They got a dead tie in Michigan. They got Carolina Harris.
It'll either be Harris or Trump. Wow. That's quite the prediction.
By 2. They got Harris up 3 in Nevada, but if you look at some of the early voting in Nevada, Republicans have done a very good job of turning out their voters. In fact, they've got a lead right there by about almost 5 points right now in the early voting in Nevada. Pennsylvania, flat out tie right there. I'll come back to that in a moment. And they've got Wisconsin up too. So what do we know? James Blair might know a few things. Political director, RNC, Trump campaign. James, good morning to you. Just give us your state of the race right now. What does your campaign see?
We're very optimistic right now. We feel good about where things are. Right now, obviously, what we're watching is people are voting.
Is this Marshall Mathers IV?
And what we've seen is historic early voting by Republicans outperforming.
I just want a beautiful girl that'll fart on my food.
2020 or even 2022. So from our perch, things look pretty good right now. I'm sure we'll go through state by state, but some highlights. North Carolina, we won the early vote. That's never happened before. In Nevada, the mail dumps are coming in, and they're not as blue as the Democrats would like them to be, and there's not as many of them. So lots of good signs in our direction right now.
Okay, I want to read this from Nate Cohn. This is on the New York Times polling that I showed our viewers here. Across these final polls, white Democrats were 16% likely to respond than white Republicans. That's a larger disparity than our earlier polls this year, and it's not much better than our final polls in 2020, even with the pandemic over. It raises the possibility that the polls could underestimate Mr. Trump yet again. We do a lot to account for this, but in the end, there are no guarantees. How do you read that?
I think it's covering. I think that they know where things.
It's interesting how Erie, Pennsylvania is like blue up in the corner there. Erie, Pennsylvania wanted some land on the lake shore, so they gave them that, which is stupid. Because it's the only reason New York and Ohio don't touch. Because Pennsylvania needed a little bit of lakeshore. Fuck that. Look how far down they are. They don't need a lakeshore.
Stan, look, in all of those polls, in all the battleground states, I heard Carl before this talking about the recall.
Like they named it after the lake.
Vote. They've set the electorate to the left of 2020, which doesn't comport with what we know, which is that all of these electorates have moved to the right, just on a registration eligible electorate basis itself. And obviously, we see that starting to manifest in the early voting patterns. So I think that they're sort of putting some cover out there because they're going to underrepresent President Trump's support. What they essentially are saying there is we got too many Democrats in the survey. We don't have enough Republicans. We know that, but we're going to publish these numbers on the eve of the election anyway.
So the pollsters have told us that they've accounted for this because of the miss in 16, the miss in 2020. We'll see whether or not that happens. Wall Street Journal has been a big target for your campaign. Young men could boost Trump to victory if they show up. That's the headline. What are you seeing out there in the battlegrounds?
Well, let's just talk about the partisan registration states where they register by party, because then you don't have to take my word for it. You can go look for yourself. Nevada, Arizona, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Republicans have turned out more 0 of 4 voters and 1 of 4 voters, so those less frequent or newly registered voters, than the Democrats have in every single one of those states. So I'd say that there's evidence that it's working on our part. We are turning out those lower propensity.
Your proposal. I counter with, we should unite, wait until the sea freezes and invade sweet Markia, the old enemy.
Hey, I love you guys working together as long as you continue to work together to help me reach the goal. I think this is a beautiful coalition here. Thank you so much, by the way. We have hit 100%. We went $4 over. So I'm going to start next week's goal, which technically it is the new week. I'm going to start that now, and I'll that $4 is going to be part of it. So let me fix that.
Voters, be they young men or otherwise. So everything you can measure right now suggests that it's going well for us.
My sense is on Tuesday, we're going to be spending a lot of time in Pennsylvania. Maybe that's right, maybe it's wrong, but this 8 years ago, this is Trump winning that state by 44,000 votes over Hillary Clinton. 4 years ago, this is Biden winning the state by 81,000 votes in 2020. We'll see, but it's just my sense that the Keystone State will be very critical and key come Tuesday. How much can your campaign do in the closing 48 hours?
A lot. We can keep getting out the vote. And let's talk about Pennsylvania. Right now, there's nearly 700,000 registered Democrats in the state of Pennsylvania who had cast a vote by this point in 2020 or 2022, and they haven't cast a vote yet, and they don't have mail ballots. That's a huge hurdle for them to climb. Secondarily, again, we've talked.
Dude, I couldn't even imagine, just because all the voting here is mail-in voting. I can't imagine standing in line waiting to vote. Like these people.
Talked about the voter registration before, Bill, but just
you shouldn't have to stand in line to vote. There should be early voting. Voting should take place over like a week or so. I say start counting it when it comes in too. Like count it like open the polling place at 9 a.m., close it at 9 p.m. or 8 p.m. or whatever, and then do the count for that part of the day. And then that way on Tuesday, the dumbest day to vote, on Tuesday, the last day of voting, you can close it then for the final time, and you don't have as many ballots to count. You just count the ballots from that last day, and we should know who's winning like really quick. Yeah, we don't, it's stupid to wait to start counting when everything's closed. Count it every day. And voting should take place over a week. I guess you can end it on Tuesday if you want. That's an old thing. Because people go to church on Sunday. This is what I heard is why Tuesday, hundreds of years ago, was selected for American elections. It was, you'd go to church on Sunday, and then you'd spend all day Monday traveling, because you didn't have a car yet. There were no cars yet. You're traveling by foot or by horse. And you'd travel to the city to vote on Tuesday. That's what I had heard, but who knows how accurate that is.
Just to put a fine point on it, there was 685,000 more registered Democrats in the state of Pennsylvania 4 years ago than Republicans. Today, that number's been cut to about 280,000. So a huge swing in our direction.
James Blair, thank you for your time. I know you're working day and night. Thanks for coming on today, and we'll see.
Okay, most countries can do it in a little over 24 hours, and sometimes they do that here, right? But here's the thing, we're the third most populous country in the world. So that's something to be considered. There are a lot more votes to count than most other countries.
Who's right? Thanks. Back special coverage Sunday.
And our election process is overly complicated, too. It's not just who gets more votes. It's like who got more votes where. It's like your location. It's like your location matters also.
Morning, as Dana said, don't change that dial on your set. If there are there still dials, Dana? No, it's all like remotes,
in
right?
8% of households.
And how many?
8.
Oh, come on, did you know that really?
No, I'm making it
It's
up.
like ChatGPT, right? This is Georgia from 4 years ago. This is Joe Biden winning by 0.2 percentage points for a grand total of fewer than 12,000 votes in Georgia. You know what happened down there, right? Now with 16 electoral votes, Atlanta is Fulton County. Fulton County is number 1 of 159 in population. You get a lot of Democratic votes out of Fulton County. Welcome back on a Sunday morning. Today is the last day of in-person voting in the pivotal swing state of Michigan.
King Frederick,
Here's
I
where
accept your proposal. Sweet Markia may never be allowed to rise again. And thank you for proving to Ben that I did not kill you. Long live Denmarkia.
Long live Denmarkia. We should call Sweden Swedesville. Swedesville.
Michigan was 8 years ago. Whew.
Swedesburg. Swedesville or Swedesburg? Which one sounds better?
11,612 votes. This is where Michigan was 4 years ago. Biden flipped it 154,000 votes to take the state. This is Detroit. This is Wayne County. It's very blue. You're going to get a strong African-American vote there. We'll see how strong it is in the end.
This is where the blacks live.
And you're going to get a lot of Democratic votes as well. But Wayne County and the city of Detroit can help determine a lot statewide. You see what Biden did there with 332,000 votes in one county alone. Grady Trimble is live in Wayne County. He's in Dearborn, Michigan, getting a lay of the land. And Grady, what are you learning?
Well, Bill, the Trump campaign has been trying to exploit Vice President Harris's weakness with the Arab American community, many of them unhappy with the Biden-Harris administration's handling of the wars in Gaza and Lebanon. The Trump team has been doing outreach in Dearborn, which is home to the largest Arab American population in the country, even before former President Trump stopped here on Friday. And at least anecdotally, that outreach may be paying off. I spoke with 2 Lebanese Americans voting early, both voting in their first presidential election and both casting their ballots for Trump.
President Trump promised us. I know he's gonna keep a promise. We should have a change and we should bring peace.
I mean, when I lived in New Mexico, I had a voter ID card. It didn't have a picture on it, but it was a voter ID card. Some states do have voter ID cards. Maybe we should just, instead of making, what we should probably do is make elections federal instead of let me back up. All federal elections for federal type things like the House, Senate, presidency, that sort of thing. It should just be regulated by the federal government, not state by state, because different states have different rules. Let's just make all the rules the same. And then if they want to issue an ID, I guess they could do it. I don't know. I guess your passport could be your ID. Here's the thing, like, not all people who have like IDs in the states are eligible to vote. You know, there are people who have driver's licenses that are not citizens, so they can't vote. So there would have to be like a new voter ID for people who are eligible to vote. I don't really care. It should be free, though. People shouldn't have to buy it. Like, if you want to... And another thing is, get rid of the Electoral College and just make it whoever gets the most votes. Okay? Make all federal elections regulated by the federal government. Everyone gets a free voter ID with their picture on it. And whoever gets the most votes wins. No more Electoral College trash. No, you got to pay for driver's licenses because unlike voting, voting is an actual right and driving is a privilege, and you need to pay for the license to drive a car, and you need to like pass a test and everything. For voting, all you have to do is be an American citizen and then you vote. So it's not the same thing. I like my mail-in voting too, though. So Washington, D.C. does vote. Washington, D.C. has like two. How many electoral votes does Washington, D.C. have? It has 3. Washington, D.C. does vote. See right here, these are D.C.'s electoral votes here. They get 3. And it's been that way for a long time. And it always goes blue. D.C. is always blue. Yes, Washington, D.C. does vote for president. They absolutely do. Look it up. D.C. does vote.
Why does Trump, the largest of the candidates, not simply eat the other candidates?
Because he can't. He has GERD. Washington, D.C. votes for Democrats in presidential elections, and they do get a vote. They get 3 electoral votes in D.C. Now, Puerto Rico and Guam and U.S. Virgin Islands, they don't get any of that. Let's see. I wonder. Yeah, right here. I'll show you. Shit, my shit's freaking out. Right here. The District of Columbia is the only non-state to be enfranchised for presidential elections, gaining electoral votes through the ratification of the 23rd Amendment in 1961. So they've been a part of every presidential election since 61.
To the Middle East.
Why do you think he's going to handle the Middle East better than the current administration?
Because he don't like war. He don't like to spend money out U.S., like billion for Ukraine.
They get to vote in the actual election, but they only get 3 electoral votes. It's been that way since the 60s, and there was an amendment passed.
Billion for Israel, billion here, billion there.
They do not have congressional reps. That's correct.
We need the money in America.
I don't believe so, anyway.
At an event with the United Auto Workers Union.
Which is weird, because I think places like American Samoa and those places, don't they get reps? Don't they have, like, congressional representatives?
In Detroit, Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib, the only Palestinian American in Congress, told auto workers to vote Democrat, but refused to explicitly endorse Harris. And you mentioned that it's the last day of in-person early voting here in Michigan. Looking at
why would she endorse her?
The numbers, more than 40% of registered voters have already cast their ballots here. As you can see behind me, Bill.
I'm not endorsing her, but I voted for her. I think there's a difference. I voted for her, but I'm not endorsing her.
Blue skies here in the Detroit suburbs today. Looking ahead to Election Day, though, the weather's not looking so good. That could hamper turnout in a race in a state where everything could come down to turnout.
Yeah, we'll watch that story. I know the rain's coming your way, but I think those Michiganders are pretty tough.
Boo! Boo!
I think they'll fight their way through it. Grady, thank you. This is Georgia now, okay? Georgia has been the focus for 4 years. It's gotten a lot of attention. They did a rewrite of their election laws. The early vote in Georgia, 4 million, okay? That equates to about 55% of all registered voters in the Peach State. That's really, really impressive. And speaking of which, on election night, when you're watching us, between that 7 and 8 o'clock hour, Georgia closes at 7 o'clock. By 8 o'clock, we're going to have a lot of different colors on the map to let you know which way Georgia is going for that moment in time for the night come Tuesday night. Let's look at this now, okay? In person, They love to do it, 3.7 million. You got a lot of others by mail, 242,000, right? But the margin in Georgia was so slim in 2020, either one can make it.
All right, now I'm going to show you guys because you guys keep spreading misinformation in the chat. That is not true. There are representatives from territories. Here's one right here. She is the representative. She's the current delegate for the U.S. House of Representatives from American Samoa. I don't know if they get a vote, but they are delegates. I mean, literally, this woman, you can look her up on the government websites. No, she's a U.S. House of Representatives. But they don't vote in the they don't vote in the actual house. Yeah, they're non-voting delegates. They do have representation, but they don't get a vote, which is kind of weird.
Big deal, all right, and a big difference. Want to bring in a judge in Georgia rejecting the RNC's lawsuit. The RNC was arguing against large counties from accepting hand-returned mail-in ballots on the weekend. They were saying that's against the rules. Our legal editor is Carrie Urbon, and she's with me now to take us through it. So they made the case. It appears they were denied. What's at stake there, Carrie?
You know, we're going to just continue to see so many of these kinds of challenges in not just Georgia, but all of the swing states. And here, the RNC was arguing that Fulton County and other counties were allowing people to drop off their mail-in ballots past the early voting deadline and keeping their offices open on Saturday, yesterday, and Sunday today to do so. Now, the state came back and said, well, wait a second, we've always allowed people to drop off their mail-in ballots in person. And also, our law allows counties, if they desire, to keep election offices open on the weekends if they choose to do so. And so the RNC was disappointed about this. They're appealing that. But separately, they were allowed to introduce poll observers into those counties. So my understanding is they were there yesterday and today in these counties watching to make sure that the process is going smoothly and okay.
Okay, here's the RNC chairman, Michael Watley. He didn't like this move at all. Remember the counties we're talking about here, okay? You know, Fulton, Cobb, DeKalb, Gwinnett. That's like 4 of the top 5 populated the entire state of Georgia. Those counties decided at the last minute to accept ballots over the weekend, which disregards the law. They've also failed to let our poll observers in to watch the process. He concludes, however, Kerry, Secretary of State issued guidance to allow Republican poll watchers in, but local officials refuse, in all caps. You're saying that last part has changed since then.
It did change. It changed a couple of hours later. They sent out a clarifying note and said those poll observers could in fact come in, which the RNC then touted as a victory, but they are appealing the underlying decision.
Okay, Jonathan Turley's got a pretty good headline. He says Halloween's over, but the election litigation is getting really scary. All right, then he writes, rocket science is Elon Musk catching a massive booster rocket on what looked like a giant barbecue fork.
All right. Wow. So I'm going to close the poll in a minute here. You guys can get your final votes in if you want. Man, I'm probably gonna take all day tomorrow off to kind of chill before a crazy full day of streaming. I'm guessing 6-7 hours, maybe, possibly, depending on how long the whole process takes.
My wiener doesn't stink. Nah! King Cobra. What up, YouTube? I live in Casper, Wyoming, and you know what? I love Casper, Wyoming. It's in Wyoming. It's a really, really, really pretty mountain town. All kinds of shit in Wyoming. And I'm like, girls have cooties in Wyoming. Girls have cooties, all kinds of cooties. Girls in Wyoming have cooties. You know what I'm saying? Girls have cooties, and sex is gross. I speak from experience. What little experience that I do have. So I says to myself, you must experiment with the same gender. And you know what? I like the way it feels. Woo! In fact, I've always said, girls have cooties in Wyoming. Girls have cooties, all kinds of cooties. Girls in Wyoming have cooties. You know what I'm saying? Girls have cooties, and sex is gross. Especially if you're straight, trust me. That's weird. That's where babies come from. I'm not trying to be creepy about it. I look at all the chicks who rejected me growing up, and I'm like, who's laughing now? But I digress. And you know what? You must accept Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior. I love Jesus Christ. That magical Jesus Christ. Yeah. Like, didn't Jesus' blood turn to wine? In the name of Jesus Christ, and just keep doing my thing. And you know what? Girls have cooties in Wyoming. Girls have cooties, all kinds of cooties. Girls in Wyoming have cooties. You know what I'm saying? Girls have cooties, and sex is gross.
Oh, shit. I needed that palate cleanser because I fried my brain with all the political videos. So I had to clear the cache, you know what I mean? And defrag.
And let's bring in this week co-anchor and ABC News Chief Washington correspondent Jonathan Karl and our deputy political director Avery Harper. Good morning to both of you. It's great to have you. John, let's start with you first here and how the candidates are making their closing arguments. And what's the pitch that Trump is making here in the final days?
It's a pretty basic one. It's that things were better when he was president than they are now. He says at the beginning of every rally now, are you better off today than you were 4 years ago? The crowd screams no. Now, to be clear, exactly 4 years ago, we were in the middle of a pandemic that had shut down our economy and thousands of people were dying. That's not literally what he means, but he means pre-pandemic we had.
It's so funny. I've been to that Hard Rock Cafe that you can see through the window back there. That's the Hard Rock Cafe in Times Square. I'm pretty sure. I'm guessing maybe the ABC studios are in Times Square. Maybe.
A low inflation, economic growth, the world was not, in Trump's words, on fire. That said, Trump's own message, once he gets past that opening line, is all over the place. It's seeing Liz Cheney with guns in her face. It's the rally we saw in Madison Square Garden, talk of the enemy within. He's nowhere near as disciplined as his campaign would like to see him be.
And the dark rhetoric certainly has come out
as
more.
It could possibly be. Yes.
Yeah, and Avery.
Yes, that is the ABC studios is in Times Square. I just looked it up. I thought that looked like the Hard Rock Cafe. It makes a lot of sense. I mean, that's a perfect place to have like a news studio.
What are we hearing from
ABC is owned by Disney. It's kind of like the center of all that kind of ridiculous shit down there.
From the Harris team?
Well, the Harris campaign is trying to put forth a unifying message. You see her on the campaign trail reaching out to folks who disagree with her, offering a seat at the table to those who disagree with her. They believe that their coalition is broad, that it's more than just Democrats, that it's independents and Republicans too. They are also making the argument that former President Trump is a danger to democracy. That's a message they believe that crosses across party lines.
And John, if we are seeing this question all the time, every single day, will we know who wins on election night?
Well, as I look into the crystal ball here, Gio, look, there's a very good chance we will, actually, because there have been steps that have been taken since 2020 to speed up the process, especially in Pennsylvania. You remember how we were waiting almost a week for the results in Pennsylvania as they counted
ABC
those,
is one thing that Disney's had for a really long time. Look, you can see the Times Square Taco Bell back there. Times Square's like a mall, it's almost like an outside mall. You know, like there's a ton of people everywhere and there's all these shops everywhere and restaurants. It's like, it almost reminds me of like an amusement park / shopping mall. Most actual New Yorkers don't normally go there. I would never go there for New Year's. That is just torture.
Absentee ballots. The counting is going to begin a little bit earlier than it did 4 years ago. There aren't going to be quite as many mail-in ballots in Pennsylvania as there were last time, we don't think, and the process will go quicker. It all depends on whether or not any one of those key states is really so close. I mean, I was there, Florida, 2000, when we had to go through recount and challenges. If it's that close, then we could be in for a long haul. But, you know, if it breaks one way or the other, we could certainly know, actually, late Tuesday night.
All right, and Avery, too, we've been talking about early voting. So what are we learning in these early exit polls? More than 75 million people have already cast their ballots.
Right. We do know that Democrats are outnumbering the Republicans who are coming out to cast ballots. But the electorate has been more rural, more male, more Republican. And so
look at the guy in the overalls. I'm here to vote.
That's a good sign
Trump.
for them. At the same time, the Democrats are saying, look, there's no sign that Republicans have picked up new voters. And so they're looking at that as a good sign for the Democratic side of things. Of course, it's really important to know there are limitations to what we can glean from some of these early vote numbers. A lot of those answers are going to come on election night.
All right, Avery Harper, John Carl, as always, thank you so much. We appreciate it. And on Monday, GMA, Monday morning, House Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries will join us live as we inch closer to Election Day, and the Democrats are working to win the House majority as well. And on election night, stay with ABC News. We'll have all the results as they come in, beginning at 7 p.m. Eastern, reporting from both campaign headquarters, and of course insight and analysis from our powerhouse political team. Again, that's at 7 p.m. on Tuesday. Plus, don't forget to tune in later this morning for a special pre-election edition of This Week.
Listen, when it comes to politics, we have got you covered.
On it.
$15 churros. Delicious. Well, the Disney store is there. The Disney store is there because ABC is over there. They're all just keeping. Disney stores are crazy too. Disney pollutes the world. All right. So I think I'm about to wrap this one up. It was a good afternoon stream. I'm gonna chill for the rest of the day. And I will see you guys maybe tomorrow. If not tomorrow, then definitely on Tuesday, because that's the big day. I'll see all you guys very soon, though. Thanks for watching.
I'm an incel, mindfulness shit. I'm a Christian. I'm a Buddhist, and I wear no clothes. I'm a pedo, and I think that shows. I'm Jared Genesis. Do you know what I am saying? I'm hanging at playground, watching kids playing. I'm an alpha. I live with my dad. You're a sim pro, and I'm just a chat. I'm a black belt. You know what it is, and my carpet is all covered in jizz. I'm Jared Genesis. kids playing. I'm an alpha, I live with my dad. You're a synth bro, and I'm just a Chad. I'm a black belt, you know what it is. And my carpet is all covered in jizz. I'm Jared Genesis, do you know what I am saying? I'm hanging at playground, watching kids playing. Do you know what I am saying? I'm hanging at playground, watching kids playing.